Greetings, it's Vaygrim, back with another mod guide. This is the Frankenstein power system. It's a mishmash of, oh gosh, I have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different mods. 6, I think, technically. But it's fully automated steam power that you can extract as either BC power, which I think is going away, or RF, redstone flux. This is all getting converted into redstone flux and getting stored in power banks for Ender IO. But I'm quite proud of this. Now, okay, I have to give kudos. First of all, this part of the system is completely due to the work of Mallrat208 and Zaw4, two great guys in my actual IRC channel. They do great work. They're good at research. They're good at coming up with great ideas. And I think Mallrat proposed this to me, and Zaw tested it and ran with it. I've been testing with it since then. So I'm going to go through all of this and explain it step by step. This is a flash boiler. This is actually the heart of the entire setup. The flash boiler, of course, uses water and coal, or burnable others, to generate steam. Now, when it has steam pressure, it shows up on this little steam gauge. Here's something that Flaxbeard, the maker of Flaxbeard Steam Power, did right. This puts off a redstone signal detectable. Well, it puts off a status that is detectable by a comparator. So I can put a comparator right here because technically this actual steam gauge is in this block. It's not attached. It's not sharing the same space as the flash boiler. It's one over. So if you put a comparator off of this, as soon as it has any steam in here, that will start generating a signal between 1 and 15. I have that aimed into a redstone receiver from Steve's Factory Manager, also known as SFM. The redstone receiver is hooked up to the actual Factory Manager itself, the Inventory Manager. And I've got this monstrosity set up. Now, it's not triggered yet. I have to link these two to set this whole thing in motion. There is a reservoir from Ender IO that is supplying water to this, the actual boiler. I have a barrel with 64 stacks of coal, and the cabling, this inventory cabling, hooks up to the back of the actual inventory manager, the SFM block, and goes all the way over to the top of the boiler. So, here's what happens. This has a redstone conditional right here. This is where it checks. Actually, I can show you right here. That redstone receiver, if any side of it gets a strength between 1 and 8, if that is true, then it does this. If it's false, it does this. So basically what I've done is, while this is true, it is going to take coal from the barrel and put it in the flash boiler, one at a time. It will only keep one coal in there. If this is false and the power level goes over 8 for redstone, then it will pull any coal that's in the boiler out that hasn't been used yet. That gives us fine-tuned control. I think. I haven't tested this side. This works. I haven't tested this part yet. We'll see. Now, this all automates the boiler. The flash boiler builds up pressure, and it pushes it out this pipe into something that's part of Flaxbeard Steam Power called a pressure converter. Flaxbeard uses gaseous steam. Most other mods, you know, actually use liquid steam. So this converts it back and forth between that state. It goes from gas to liquid, and it gets pulled out by pressurized fluid conduits from Ender IO and pumped into an industrial steam engine from Railcraft. This is generating power, but since it's actually still BC power, this is still Buildcraft power, MJs. I have to use universal cable from Mekanism to adapt the power over. It goes into an energy cube as a buffer point, and then gets pulled out into this capacitor bank. Now, you're asking, why didn't I just stop here? I could have just stored the power there. Well, here's the hitch. This would keep burning steam and burning this all the time, constantly. And you would have no way to automate turning it off once this got full. That's where this comes in. It's the power monitor from Ender IO. What's this let me do is set an engine control signal. If I have less than 20% power, I'm actually going to say less than 25. Actually, no, let's stick with 20. If it's less than 20% power, it's going to turn on a redstone signal right here, activate the engine. As soon as it goes over 80%, it turns that signal off and the engine will slow down and stop running. That means it stops burning fuel, which means this stops burning fuel, which means the whole setup stops. So basically what I can do is I'm going to go over here and, whoops, that's linked up. In theory, let's see if this is actually going to work. I'm actually going to disconnect this for now. There we go, 0. Got to make sure and put 0 on that, because when it's got no redstone signal, it won't kick off. There we go. Which means now I think I can put that into play. This will keep 1 coal in here all the time, and this is building up pressure. As this builds up pressure, it's automatically getting sent out through here. This is already giving a redstone signal out telling this to work. This does 8 MJ per tick, or 80 RF per tick, and it's powering up and buffering out to the cube, which then gets sent over here. And as you can see, this is still, it's just now getting power because this has to fill this buffer up first, basically. So this thing is consuming, I think it's 1 RF per tick off the top, and it's got a buffer that it has to fill up first. But once that buffer fills up, so there's going to be a little bit of an operating cost starting up every single time because of this. But this does mean that once the system comes on, it will build up power and start filling the battery bank up. Slowly but surely. Now, I could do this with more engines quite easily and have this go up much faster. I could probably have, like, let's say 4 or 6 commercial steam engines and fill it up very, very quickly. I think that would be fabulous. This is just an example of the process in action. See, this is filling up. It's getting there, but this whole process is automated. It's hands-off. The only thing you have to worry about is keeping a stockpile of either coal or charcoal. Now, I could put filters in here. What you can do is you go in here and you're telling it, I want to grab this item, right? Coal. I could add, if I wanted to, charcoal. And I could right-click, specify amount. I could do that if I wanted to. With this, if you right-click, I've specified an amount of 1. So I have exactly 1 coal, 1 coal, 1 coal, 1 coal. I have 1 in all places, whitelisted. That means it's not stockpiling a stack of 64 coal in here. Because in normal mod packs, when this builds up pressure and it gets too high, see, this is way too... I don't know why this is out of whack. So here's the thing. That's the only buggy part. Hooking all of this up into this thing seems to throw the pressure numbers off quite a bit. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drop that down to between 0 and 4. And then I'm going to yeah, see? This is the part that's actually kind of strange. Right now, I think... Where's the steam whistle? There's the steam whistle. Yep, we're over pressure. I have safety mechanisms turned on. So, there is definitely a science to this that I'm not figuring out. There's still some bugs in Flaxbeards, but I think the potential is there. I really do. This is filling up, as you can see. It's generating power. You know, one thing I'm thinking about doing. You see, this should be reading a much, much higher level, but because this is involved in the equation, it messes up the ratio on things. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. I don't know where the bug lies on this, but once this gets involved, the entire system gets out of whack. However, I think after a couple of bug fixes, I really do think that you could do something like this. I could see doing something like this very, very easily, meshing all these power systems together, and I think it's very cool. Yeah, that's not updating. I don't know why. Okay. It's all right. It's receiving a signal of... I wonder what happens if I put that back to 1. That is burning out. Oh, all of a sudden it updates. Don't know why. This is very, very interesting. And now it's not updating properly. You see? It thinks that that steam level is low. Putting out a signal. This should be roughly just below half. So when this thing puts out just below this point, it should get a new piece of coal put into it. Let's watch it and see what happens. I'm hoping this is going to work. Electric locomotives, that's a new thing for Railcraft. I think 7 is the halfway point, I think. So when it drops below halfway, the signal strength should be 6. There it is. Just put a new one in, and it just boosted the actual power up a little bit. Now, that might actually be cooperating. So, normally, I keep this, when I'm not using the pressure regulator, I use between 1 and 10. That keeps it at 3/4 full. So that's the thing to note. 1 and 6. And then pretty much what you do is you just put one piece of coal in there to prime the system and turn it on. Once you get it going, then the whole thing is automatic. It will maintain a certain level of steam. And we can watch it and see. This is going to drop down a little bit. And then the factory manager is going to... New piece of coal. It goes just above the threshold. That's working. I don't know what the bug was, but it's working now. The pressure converter does wonders for converting this to other mods that use steam. This is going full tilt, and it's got a little bit of power backup, which means, honestly, we could probably find a better cable. Now, unfortunately, I tried Ultimate Universal cables in Mekanism, and the power just disappeared. I don't know why. I'm going to ask the Mekanism development team about it. We'll see if we can get it fixed. But this is working. You can see output right here. We're getting about between 80 and 90, somewhere in that range, RF per tick. And you can even see how much power you've got in the capacitor bank. Right here, we've got 500,000 RF. Honestly, I probably should have done about... I'm going to lop that off. There we go. That means we're going to fill up quicker. That's 20 million RF that we have to worry about now. That is updated. And once this entire thing gets above 80%, this will automatically turn off this redstone signal, which means this will stop using steam. It'll buffer out all the remaining power that it's got, and the entire system will slow down. This will keep at about half, always. Which means once you prime this and kick this whole system off, you don't have to do it again. It will stay primed. The only thing you'll have to worry about then is this part of the equation turning on and off thanks to this. So I really do like that this, by the way, was just this thing over here, this monstrosity, was just to pull power one direction from this over to this, so I could empty this out and trigger it again if it filled up too quick. So you can ignore that safely. So yeah, I really do think it's a little quirky, but I think it's cool. I think it's diverse. This Frankenstein steam-powered system. It's a meshing of about 6 mods, and I absolutely am fascinated by this concept. I really would like to thank Mallrat208 and Zaw for bringing the idea to me and for basically messing with it and fine-tuning it. Now, Zaw4 has a version of this that he's done 100% vanilla automated steam boiler. Just this part of it, he's automated it with 100% vanilla redstone. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to see if he'll post it to Reddit because I think that's worthy of attention. So, thank you very much for joining me in this quirky little episode. I really do appreciate it. This has been very cool messing with this. You're going to see part of this. It doesn't have the Railcraft component, but you'll see the rest of this get used. This whole automated half, you'll see this get used in tomorrow's episode of Vaygrim's Chance. I'm going to put it to use in the workshop because I think it's a great idea. Thank you very much for joining me on a strange episode of Mod Guide. I'm hoping, by the way, soon to get into the new Mekanism, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm still learning and I'm still educating myself on. So keep your eyes on the horizon for a long, multi-part Mekanism Mod Guide series. This is Vaygrim signing off. Bye-bye.